Hello.
Hello.
How are
Nice to
you?
see you again.
Likewise. Long time no see.
Yeah,
But you still look the same.
Is that you?
You still look the
Is that you?
just as young. Thank you.
3 years I haven't seen you here.
I know.
I saw you and then I said, I'll speak to you next week.
I know.
I looked into the Josiah things you told me.
Oh yeah. Oh my
See you
God.
next week. And then I got you confused with somebody else.
I know.
Right? And I never saw you again.
Well, what had happened,
Yes.
we came, after we had a conversation with you, I think it took 2 months before we came again. Yeah. Then last year, it was a total lockdown. Couldn't do it. This year, when we just had decided to come, they put us into a local lockdown. So we couldn't travel. And today,
You're finally back.
I finally managed to get back. And even that, you
You're
know.
the first person I debated when I came here.
I know.
That's because of it.
I know, you discussed with me. Yeah, but look, at the end of the day, even today, at 12 o'clock midnight, I have an issue and it suddenly got inflamed. And I wasn't even sure whether I would make it here. But I thought, you know what? If I don't go today, it's going to be another few weeks. So it is better coming and getting it sorted. Thankfully, everything is okay, and here I am. So, what have you been doing with yourself? Tell me.
University now.
Are you?
Come here every week.
Really? Excellent. What are you studying?
City University of London.
City?
Yeah. It's near Angel.
All right. What are you studying?
Law.
Ah, good man, good man. Now, let's try and rewind the clock back to
3 years.
when we were. And since you've already confused me with someone, let's get back to what we were discussing. Yeah?
Yes. I confused you with somebody else. I
know.
started bringing the argument that you would... Do you know who I confused you with?
Who?
Harold. I
Arul,
came back.
how dare you confuse me with him?
I'd forgotten what you looked like. I came back the next week and I thought, where's that fellow? And I saw somebody who could it have been that person? And I went up to him and said, I said, I looked up Josiah. And he said, oh, good, very good. He learned about Josiah. Let's talk about Josiah. I thought, I'd forgotten.
He had forgotten anything. Well, it doesn't matter.
And then I accused him the next week. I said, you tricked me. I thought you were a Christian. I've just found you on, I found out from somebody else, the person you're Shabir Yusuf. He said, I'm not Shabir. What?
After a full conversation, you realize, he's not in. Oh, it happens, don't worry. So, currently, I think, when was it? I had an opportunity to have a look at your video. Was it last week or the week before? Who were you talking to? Brother Shamsi or Brother
Ali Dawa?
Ali?
I spoke to him in the summer.
Ah, yeah. I was actually watching that to see. I mean, going back to what we said, as I can recall, the conversation that you were having was with somebody else, and we came in and we were having a conversation. I mean, you are an Orthodox. Yeah. What is it? You see, the way I want to do it, I don't want us to go all the way around, but as a person of Jewish origin, yeah, obviously Christianity came and then Islam came. How are you? It's okay. How are you viewing these two that came after? And I want you to be open with me. You know, we are fine.
So I view them as false.
No?
I view them as both false.
Okay.
But I view them as having little sparks of truth within them.
Yeah.
And that I view that they've done a lot of good in the world. They've also done a lot of bad in the world. So I see that Christianity and Islam have spread some very important concepts to people, right? Across the world, they've spread the idea of a Messiah. They've spread the idea of one God, even if Christians have got it the wrong way around. This is very useful because when the Messiah comes, we believe, so now people around the world, they now know what is this, right? They now know what's going on, right? So Christianity and Islam have served a very important purpose, preparing the world for the Messiah age.
Right.
This is what Maimonides says.
Yeah.
However, they have also wrought a lot of destruction, a lot of terrible things have happened in the name of these two religions over the course of their existences, especially when they've had power. And so these are, of course, negative influences in the world. So there's positive influences and negative influences.
Yeah, of course. But I mean, I'm sure that if we were to take your reasoning to its logical conclusion, the assumption is that when the Messiah comes, is he going to have enemies?
I suppose probably at the beginning, probably yes.
Is there a possibility that there is going to be war?
There is going to be a war before the Messiah comes. That we know from Ezekiel.
But after the Messiah comes?
After the redemption, there's not going to be any war. Peace.
Is he going to have enemies?
At that point, no.
He's not going to have any enemies. Okay.
There's going to be one final war just before the Messiah kind of reveals himself. It's going to be the war of Gog and Magog. This is described in Ezekiel. And there's a little bit of description about it in Zechariah as well. After that, Elijah's going to come and say the Messiah's coming in 3 days. In 3 days the Messiah will come, Elijah will tell us who he is. And then that will usher in this era of world peace. How exactly that will work, I don't know.
Right, I understand. That's fine. Now, the issue is this. If, for example, you have Christianity, then came Islam, you view them both as false. On what premise do you view them as false?
I view both of them as false in that their books contradict the Torah, and that they believe that there are people who are prophets who came after what I believe was the end, the seal of prophecy.
Okay.
The seal of prophecy, the end of the prophets for the world was the prophet Malachi.
Yeah.
The end of prophecy for the Gentiles, the non-Jews, was Balaam.
Okay.
You know.
Yes. Okay, that is fine. But again, I'm still asking, on what basis are you going to exclude Christianity and Islam? If I were to say, because what you said, the Torah, it goes against the Torah. In what way?
So, for example, Christianity.
Yeah.
So Christianity has the idea that God became a man, right? Became a human being on the earth. This is very much contrary to the Tanakh, the Bible.
But can I know without...
Sorry,
I'm sorry, what's your name?
Josh.
Josh, listen, before you go further about...
There were two Joshes last time.
I know, I can remember now. Before you go further, look, what the Christians believe is not necessarily what the book says. Do we agree?
Yes, although it does say there that, although I have seen Jesus says in John, I am the Father are one. I know that there is a Unitarian and a Muslim way of looking at that, which is that one not in essence but in some other thing.
No, but can we not look at it, Josh, for what it is?
What is it?
Rather than saying it has got either an Islamic view of it or just looking at the statement itself. Because if I were to say, and because we are discussing it, we may as well go into the meat. Yeah? It says, I and my Father are one. Yeah? But the chapter or the verse starts off at verse 23. They come to him and say, if you are who you claim you are, the Messiah, tell us plainly. And he said to them, I have many a good works have I shown you from the Father. Yeah? For some odd reason he equated good works, yeah? But he also said, he says, my sheep know me, they hear me, they follow me. Yeah? No one can pluck them out of my Father's hands. No one can pluck them out of my hands. I and the Father are one. Now, logically speaking, the statement itself is making an association with the Creator in a way which can only be understood to be blasphemous. It seems like that. Yeah. But like I said, if you look at the text and the evidence, it does not necessarily mean that is what it is saying. So we see, if I were to ask you now, Josh, he said, I and my Father are one. That's verse 30 of chapter 10. What does verse 31 say?
No idea.
What does verse 32 say?
No idea.
Right, okay. Now, I understand, yeah, because it is a common thing that the Christians tell us. But, verse 31, they picked up stones to stone him. What did they do? Who were they?
Analyses.
Let's call them collectively the Jews. They picked up stones to stone him. He says in verse 32, many a good works have I shown you from the Father. For which of the good works do you stone me? Now, if you reason it based on what you said, he claimed, or he made a statement, I and my Father are one. They, like what you are thinking, thought it was blasphemy. He says to them, many a good works have I shown you from the Father. For which of the good works do you stone me? Verse 33, they said to him, for a good work we stone you not, but for blasphemy. For after being a man, you make yourself a God. Now, I and my Father one is not what necessarily we think it means. Because here he is telling them, I have done many good works. Which one are you stoning me for? It's like he didn't realize why they had picked up stones. Because if he did, he would have said, yes, I am. What's your problem? But he didn't, did he? He says to them, many a good works have I shown you from the Father. Now tell me, Josh, as a reasonable individual, they picked stones to stone him. Before that, they asked him, if you are the Christ, tell us plainly. Yeah, if you are the Messiah, tell us plainly. He says to them, many a good works from the Father have I shown you. My sheep hear my voice. They know me. Now, so far, has he said anything blasphemous? My sheep know me in the full.
He hasn't said blasphemy.
He hasn't said anything. He then,
blasphemy.
Absolutely. Then he says, and I'm glad you said weird because now you understand why they misunderstood what he said. Yeah. So he then says to them, no one can pluck them out of my Father's hand. Who? The true disciples. No one can pluck them out of my hand. Who? The true disciples. I and the Father are one. Now there is an issue where we think he claimed divinity in a way. Yeah? So what happens next? They pick up stones. They want to stone him. He merely continues his discussion with them because he was talking about what? Good works, wasn't he? They picked up stones. He says to them, many a good works have I shown you from the Father. For which of the good works do you stone me? Up to that juncture, what was he thinking? It's logical. From verse 23, all he has talked about is good works. He has talked about his disciples. He has talked about the connection between the disciples and the Creator. He has talked about the connection between the disciples, the Creator, and him. And in that context, he made the statement, I and the Father are one. Now, it seems patently obvious from verse 23 to verse 30, he is talking about a sequence in which he is establishing clearly that me and my purpose is the same as what the Creator has sent me for. But they misunderstood. Verse 31, they picked up stones. Verse 32, he says, many a good works have I stoned you from the Father. For which of the good works do you stone me? Now it's come. For a good works we stone you not, but for blasphemy. Now, what does he say, verse 35 and 36? Josh, what he says is he puts up a defense. And you'll come across the word defense in law, I'm sure you will. Yeah? He puts up a defense. He said, is it not written in your law? I said, ye are gods. Where is he referring to? The book of Psalm. Is that before Malachi?
It's after Malachi.
Psalms.
Psalms.
Yeah.
The order is after Malachi. It's written before Malachi.
Yeah. If he has quoted
In the
the book
order
of Psalms,
Tanakh, Psalms
Yeah.
comes after Malachi. But in the order chronologically when it was written, it was
Yes.
before Malachi.
that's it. Right. But whether it's before or after, the question is, he has referred to something. He said, is it not written in your law? I said, ye are gods. What did he mean?
He's trying to say that we're all gods.
Well, he's quoting from Psalms.
Yeah.
He's saying, look, God has already explained to you what he means. Yeah? And he says to him, is it not written in your law? Now he is telling them, look, you have grossly misunderstood what I just said. Is it not written in your law? I said, ye are gods. And if the word of God came onto him, yeah, then he claimed to be the Son of God, why do you have a problem? Now, have you seen the switch in the language? He says, I have said this, I'm merely claiming I'm the Son of God. But is that what he said? That's not what he said. How has it suddenly switched to the notion of Son of God?
My friends, can I ask you something?
It's a question to ask and consider. But he goes on to finalize it and he says to them, Josh, he said, if there were gods on whom the word of God came, why do you see a problem with me claiming to be the Son of God? Now, according to the Torah, the appellation Son of God, is it a valid one?
Only in the sense that we're all sons of God.
Now, if I were to take that, Hebrews 9:27, for as many as are led by the Spirit of God are the sons of God.
They said, how can anyone
Not a problem,
say
is
this
it?
about our
If you go to the book of Job chapter 25, it says there very clearly, what is the Son of Man? Merely a worm. Yeah? Now, you can see the appellation is being used.
Can't be changed, you know.
The appellation is being used,
I asked another one.
and John 10:30, when read objectively, clearly establishes that Jesus did not make the claim to divinity.
I said, why?
And these verses I've read out are actually there, you can check them. Yeah? But a bit further than that, I will ask this. You see, in this particular verse, we have established it is not what you thought it said. Give me another one.
Another example is when Jesus claims to be the Lord of the Sabbath.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
He breaks the Sabbath.
Yeah.
The Jews tell him off.
Okay.
And he basically arrogantly says, no, don't worry, I'm the Lord of the Sabbath, I'm above all this stuff.
Okay. But when he says he's the Lord of the Sabbath, okay, again,
They're all respected.
he contextualizes and he says, and you tell me whether he was wrong. He says, in Matthew 23:23, he says, you hypocrites, you pay a tithe of mint, anise and cumin, and you omit the weightier matters of the law, namely judgment, mercy. Now, ask yourself this, what was the Sabbath made for?
Maybe it was normal.
Sabbath was made for two reasons. One, so that we should keep it because God told us to.
Yeah?
And two, to commemorate God's creation of the world and rest on the seventh day.
Excellent. Now, when it was established to be for human beings, was it for rest purposes? Now, when I look at all the relevant verses, I find that when he allegedly broke the Sabbath, it was for a practical reason, yes?
And the reason was?
I'm asking.
Yes. Apparently it was for practical reasons. Obviously. I'm
You're right,
assuming.
you're right. But here is the problem though. I want to ask you now, if we go back to Moses, were there situations where he did something that was against God?
There was one situation
What?
when he hits the rock instead of speaking to it.
What happened?
He was punished.
And what happened after that?
He was not allowed to go into the land of Israel.
What happened after that? Was he still a prophet?
Yeah, it was for
Right. Now here's an issue, if you think about it, Josh. You see, we know that those incidents occurred. But it seems like the Creator gave him a bit of leeway. Do we agree?
What do you mean?
Well, he was still a prophet, wasn't he?
Yes.
Okay.
It's not that in any way. He was punished for it.
When we talk about being punished, you have done something, I've slapped you, but you continue your responsibilities.
Yes.
You aren't sacked, are you?
Right. Moses was still an incredibly holy man.
Of course,
One sin
I have
does
no
not-
doubt. The point is not that. The point is whether what we are alleging about Christ in the context of the Bible actually occurred the way you are understanding it. My contention is that is not the case. So the issue is whether it is true or not. We can confidently assert, at least I can, Brother Josh, that the idea of the divinity of Christ is not to be found in the New Testament. It's not there. They can claim as much as they want, but if we were to address it logically, rationally, and reasonably, the way we would want to address also the Torah or the Quran, then I can confidently assert to you that there is nothing in there which can claim that Jesus is divine. Well, if we can agree with that, tell me what is wrong with Christianity.
So, besides for that, there is the issue that in the Christian books, the Gospels, they constantly misquote the Tanakh.
Sorry,
They constantly misquote Tanakh and lie about fulfillment prophecies. So, for example,
yeah,
in Matthew 1:23,
yeah,
mistranslates Isaiah 7:14 and pretends
right.
as if this is a prophecy that was fulfilled by a so-called virgin birth of Mary. That's one example, right?
Are you saying that they've mistranslated the word in Isaiah?
Yeah, they mistranslate
Chapter
it,
7,
and
verse
they also
14.
take it completely out of context.
Okay,
That's
but
one example.
no
That's the
problem.
first example of many.
Excellent, yes. But when we are looking at these examples, we can we can verify. It's all right, George. We can verify one thing, yeah, that whatever we are saying, we can establish that what they are misinterpreting should not be misinterpreted. Do you agree? But if it is there, then there is no corruption, is there? Look, Josh, if, for example, Isaiah 7:14, the word is what? Bethulah and Alma.
Yeah, the word is Alma.
Yeah. The word that is used is Alma. Where is this? Shall we go in the sun, Josh?
Yes.
Yeah, let's go.
I can go in the shade over there. That's all right. Thank you.
We are going for a nice walk now. Get out of the car. He just came and started screaming. He just started screaming. What to do? Eh? We've just got to accept it and move on. Eh?
Yeah.
So are you in the first year of your?
Yeah, just finished the first year.
Oh, excellent, excellent. Passed?
I think so.
Oh, that's good. I think so. I'm sure you will have. So do you want to become a barrister or a solicitor?
Barrister.
You want to become, I knew it. I just knew you were going to say barrister. Yeah, you've got relatives in there, haven't you?
My father's a solicitor.
I thought so, yeah.
There won't be a solicitor.
Yeah.
Just to let you know, we're on 5 o'clock.
You're joking? Are we already on 5 o'clock? Really? Right, well, our friend Josh here is going to be the last one then. Yeah? Right, going back to what we were saying. So you see, you know what I mean? If, for example, the word Alma was mistranslated, but we now know that it is Alma.
Yes.
Yeah? And we know that whatever has been in 123, for example, of
Yes.
Matthew, it says virgin. Now we can actually retranslate and put the word young woman.
Right.
So there isn't a problem, is
But
there?
If that's what if we do that, then we end up saying that Jesus was a bastard, because we end up saying that Mary was not in fact a virgin. We'll end up having to say she was simply a young woman who had had relations with another man, not Joseph, because he is denying it.
Okay, but that would be based on evidence.
What do you mean? Based on
I'll tell you. Just because the appellation young woman was granted there, are you suggesting to me because Isaiah 7:14 says young woman, yes, it necessarily...
necessarily means not. Right,
Are you following? Yeah. So there isn't an issue there. Okay.
Right,
So, but
maybe
not
the
only that.
Translation wouldn't be an issue.
Exactly.
But the taking out of context is certainly an issue.
But that would only happen.
Because
Yes.
Matthew 1:23 is claiming a fulfillment of Isaiah 7:14.
Yeah.
And this for sure is not the case.
Yeah.
Because Isaiah 7 is talking about a siege that took place during the time of King Ahaz,
Yeah.
King Ahaz,
Yes.
and this was a sign that the siege would end. Well, number one, the siege ended a long time before Jesus came on the
Yeah.
scene. And number two, if the siege had taken that long,
Yeah.
that's a very long siege.
Okay.
Right? Besides the fact that the sign is not necessarily the son being born to this young woman. The sign is that he's going to be called Emmanuel, meaning God is with us.
Yeah.
Showing people, like, this young woman's going to name her son God is with us. Right? That's going to give people hope, a sign that God is with them in this siege, and that by the time this boy is old enough to know the difference between good and evil, the siege will have been lifted.
Right.
Right? Yeah, that's what happened.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Matthew is saying, oh, this woman, many years later, is going to become pregnant. Right? So no, it's pregnant now, and is going to give birth to a son. Name him Jesus, not Emmanuel.
Yeah.
And this is supposedly a fulfillment of something that had nothing to do with this?
Not a problem. I can agree with you. The issue is not that. The issue, Josh, is if, for example, Isaiah is talking about a siege. Which siege is he talking about?
It's a siege when Rezin, the king of Aram, and Pekah, the king of the northern kingdom of Israel,
Okay.
were besieging Jerusalem.
Okay. So in that context, are you saying that the verse was, when it used the appellation young woman, was talking about not a woman?
It was talking about a specific young woman during the time of the siege.
Which one?
Ahaz's wife. Although we only know that from tradition. The verse itself doesn't tell us which woman.
There you are. You see, the issue is not that. If the verse says that, tradition may point to that. But it's not definitive, is it?
It's not definitive
Okay.
according to the written text.
Right.
However, the fact is that this verse is talking about a woman during the time of the siege.
That's fine. I have not a problem with that. But the issue I'm raising here is, you see, the fact that a tradition is supporting what you are saying and not the text itself is probably suggesting to you and me that if it is not done carefully, it can be mistranslated and it can be misapplied.
Right.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, if we were to go to the New Testament and we have established that, well, Christ has not claimed any kind of divinity, yeah? Then everything else now is going to have to be contextualized, yeah? And the appropriate rendering of the translation should be applied to that. Do we agree with that?
Sure.
It is. Now, if we are to do that, we will find that there is nothing that can be disagreed with, because whatever you say about the New Testament can equally apply to the Torah.
It can.
It
in
can.
This case, it does not.
Oh well, I'm
fulfillment
I'm talking about not only one case. Like I said, if we look at it all.
Yeah.
Well,
All fulfillment
yeah.
prophecies.
But if that is the case, you now have to tell me on what basis you made the initial statement that Christianity is false.
So now I'm saying Christianity is false because in various places in the New Testament there are contradictions against the Torah, and
Like what?
so, for example, when it says that there were 75 souls that went down to Egypt, and there were clearly 70, or when it believes that that Abraham's father died before Abraham had left his father. That's not true.
Okay, how do we know that?
We know that we can calculate the numbers in Genesis chapter 11.
Okay,
right?
so it's not specific in the Torah.
Well, it's numbers.
You just
add it
calculate,
up,
right? Okay.
Or another example, when it
Now-
when it
Just hold
says
those
that
numbers.
David's city was Bethlehem, even if that was just where he was born. The city of David was Jerusalem.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
Many
Let's just
more.
let's just sit with those two examples. Are you familiar with the book of Nehemiah?
Yes.
What about Ezra?
Yes.
Are you familiar with them?
Semi-familiar.
Semi-familiar. There is a particular statement, yeah, where the very same incident is mentioned. Exact ditto,
Right.
except the numbers are different.
Oh, you're talking about the difference in the numbers in Ezra
Yes.
and the difference. There's an explanation for that. There's a reason.
Do we agree that they are different numbers?
They're different numbers, but different events.
That's fine. The issue is this. If you are suggesting that events are different and everything in the script is the same, okay, your interpretation is stretching it.
Not necessarily.
Tell me why.
Because from the context, it certainly seems that in Ezra, it's talking about the first time people were coming, and in Nehemiah, it's talking about the second time they were coming. That's
Okay.
what it seems from the context.
Seems to. But if you assess, and I'm telling you, try it. I did it. If you assess it carefully, you will find it is exactly the same event. It's not seeming as though it is another event. But I'm just using that as an example for us to correlate. Since you suggested that, look, it's contradicting this, well, I'm saying, well, actually, even here, you can find something similar. Now, if we say that, look, let's agree that there is a possibility, because you yourself have said it seems, so it's not definitive, okay? Fine. So the question then therefore arises again, what is false about Christianity?
Well, the reasons I just outlined.
I've just told you that they can equally apply to the Torah.
But I'm saying that in the Torah, there's actual reasons that can explain it.
Excellent. But that is from your perspective of you believing in it, that's why. Don't you agree with that? Because the Christian can say the same thing. He said, listen, this is what I
Christian
found.
wouldn't want to say
Yeah,
that.
well, whether he does or not, but the principle is there. Now, the issue is this. Divinity-wise, we can say they aren't. Yeah? Understanding-wise, we can say it can be rearranged, for want of a better word. Okay? But all that is what I would suggest are technical elements. In terms of what we are trying to establish, the falsehood of Christianity.
So I'll continue another example.
Sure.
Right? So you've addressed one of the fulfillment prophecies, although not in my view satisfactorily. The fact is that whenever, especially in the book of Matthew, it uses a fulfillment prophecy, it strips it entirely of its context, and it's very clearly not a fulfillment of any prophecy.
But that is based on what we just agreed on, potentially misunderstanding.
Yeah, but that's not misunderstanding, that's
Right.
deliberately taking things completely out of the text.
Is it deliberately taking it out?
Yes, because the book of Matthew
Yeah.
is, rightly or wrongly, a propaganda piece.
Okay.
Trying to convince you that Jesus is the Messiah.
Uh-huh.
That's the whole point of the book of Matthew. I think everyone agrees that.
Well, I would not agree with you. Let me ask you this. You think that the book of Matthew has gone out of its way to establish that Jesus is the Messiah?
Yes,
Why?
because when you read through it, that's
No, but why would they want to establish that?
because they believe it's true.
Okay, if it is true, yes, it's not conferring any divinity on him.
Sure.
So why would they do that?
How do they do that? Because they believe.
No, that came after. But why would they do it? Why would they do it? If there was no argument with the Jews, and there wasn't, why would they want to do something like that?
Why would they want to start a new false religion?
No, that's your claim. Why would they want to go out of their way to make Jesus the Messiah?
Because they believe it's true.
Listen to yourself, Josh. I'm asking you, why would they go out of it? Because you said it's patently obvious they are, the whole book of Matthew, everybody knows it was only to make Jesus the Messiah. I am saying, If you look at the book itself, okay, the issue is this. If they did make him into the Messiah, to what end? They must have had vested interests. To what end? Because, are you following?
Motivation when you start to-
Yeah. Is that what you think it is?
I think that's what you're asking.
To
Question
what-
of motivation is a
to
question
what
we can
end?
ask on- We can ask on Sikhism, we can ask on Buddhism,
Exactly.
we can ask on everyone.
Hey, on anyone.
Right? On Nanak we can ask what was his motivation. On Gautama we can ask what was his motivation. Obviously,
No,
Muhammad,
that's
we can ask
what
as
I'm
well.
asking. No.
Right? And there are never
Yeah.
any easy answers. You can ask this on Paul.
Absolutely.
Right? There's never any
Yeah.
easy answers as to why somebody started a religion, even if we agree that that religion is false.
But if that is the assumption we work on, that look, the primary motive of these group of people was to start something they knew was false.
So I'm not sure if that. So it depends whether or not they knew it was false.
That's exactly the question we are asking. You made the claim that they knew it was false. I'm saying no, that's not the case.
They were deluded.
They might have been, but they might also have been true,
We can see.
which you have not considered.
Oh, that it was true.
Yes, you have not considered it, have you?
If it was true, there would be a good.
No,
argument in
Josh.
favour.
Like in a court of law, I've just asked you a question. Have you ever genuinely considered it? No, you haven't. Now there you are. So what I would suggest we do, Josh, we need to travel 200 odd miles, so I'm going to have to take leave. But what we do, I'm going to leave you with one thing. I want you to check Matthew out, and when I come back,
I've read through Matthew.
excellent. I want you to go revisit it. When I come back again, God willing, definitely in about 4 weeks or even maybe less. Are you here regular?
Yes.
Oh,
I'm not
excellent.
Here next week. That's
No,
the
I'm not
first day.
here next week.
Actually, no,
The week
in 2 weeks I'm not going to be here.
Right,
I'm here next week. I'm not here the following week. It's a fast day.
the third Sunday.
Yeah. I'll
Yeah.
be there the following.
Well, we will make sure, God willing, I will come the third Sunday, and we will continue from here, and then we'll move on to Islam also,
All right.
and come to a common understanding. We can agree to disagree.
Yes.
A pleasure, Josh. Anything untoward, please do forgive me. That was not the intention. You look after yourself and get revised Matthew. When I come, I will quiz you on it.
Okay.
God bless. Look after yourself, Josh. Okay. Take your bag. Oh, sorry.